All right, what is up, guys? So I got the block painted yesterday. Came out pretty nice, pretty happy with it. Just did some duplicolor ceramic, the aluminum color. Did the girdle over there too. It's looking nice. So basically, on today's plan is to clearance the oil squirters as well as make sure the rods and everything fit. And then if all that fits, we can toss the head on, and I want to measure the piston to head distance. As well as the piston to valve clearance, which there shouldn't be any issues with either of those. But I did go ahead and clearance the oil squirters already. So basically all I did, lubed up the piston in the cylinder, and basically all I did is slide this puppy in. And if we look in here, you can kind of see the oil squirter right there. So basically before it was hitting right here on the piston, so I had to basically bend them counterclockwise up a little bit that way. So I went ahead already and did that with all the pistons. Let me try and get this guy straight. And you can see that they clear fine now. And there's also a possibility of a clearance issue between the bottom of the skirt and the top of the squirter right there. So basically what I did is, I know my stroke is 93.2 millimeters, and the pistons stick 0.4 millimeters out of the bore. So that means basically I set this to 90, basically I set this all the way in like this, and then we'll measure that all the way back. And we can see that our distance, make sure that piston's pushed all the way back. Okay, so we can see that that distance is 95.76, so that is greater than 92.8, which is 93.2, which is the stroke minus 0.4 sticking out, which means I'll have about a good 2-3 mil of clearance between the bottom of the piston skirt and the squirter. So that's an easy way to do that if you don't want to toss the crank in, but I'm going to toss the crank in now. I got my bearings back. They are calico coated mains. They came out really nice. Here's the thrust bearings. Really fast service. I sent them out last Thursday and I got them back today, so literally a week turnaround. It was like $50 to coat them all. It's a CT1 coating, provides dry lubrication in case of loss of oiling, which hopefully we won't have any issues with. Basically, I'm going to get those bearings tossed in, I'm going to get them lubed up, and I'm going to get that crank in over here. And then what we can do is we can toss a piston and a rod in and check for piston to cylinder clearance here, or rod to cylinder clearance here, and also make sure those squirters clear, which I'm pretty sure they're going to. So let's get that done. All right, so it's Saturday. I got all of the oil squirters clearanced. Might not be able to see everything, but yeah, you can see them right up there. See where that bolt is? So they clear the pistons, they clear the rods. They need a little bit more work, so I did that for all 5 cylinders. Took quite a bit of time, probably 3 or so hours. There was a lot of pulling them out, putting them back in, testing clearance and everything. But yeah, so now I got the crank pulley on, I got the idler pulley, the water pump, and basically I got the head gasket on, a couple studs, and I'm going to toss the head on, toss the cams in, screw down the cam cover, and I'm going to test for piston to valve clearance. So basically I'm going to time the cams up, spin them over, and I got this putty on here. It's about 3-4 mm thick, and I'm going to make sure the valves aren't hitting the pistons. I'm about 95%, 99.9%. So I am continuing clearancing the motor. I got the head gasket on. I put the head on. I didn't torque the head bolts down. That's not necessary because that head gasket's not really going to compress at all since it's metal. Basically, I got the engine set to top dead center on cylinder 3, and now we're going to set our lift by TDC. This is going to be 1/100th of an inch, and this is going to be 80 hundredths of an inch, or 1/100th of an inch and 80 hundredths of an inch. So basically, I'm going to set them. I'll probably pull the head off, see if there's any valve marks on the clay. As long as there's valve marks in the clay, but you can't see the bottom of the piston, that means there's plenty of clearance. Then I'll probably throw the timing belt on and turn her over. I don't have the correct tensioner, so I kind of just ghetto rig something up, but it should work for our purposes. So here we go. Alright, so I got my cams all timed up. I put the belt on. I don't have the correct tensioner because they forgot to send it to me, but I used the old hydraulic tensioner and kind of just getter rigged it on the RN block. But basically now I'm just you know, turning the engine over. I already did a couple rotations, but we can kind of see. Let's see if we can see the exhaust valves open. Probably not, or the intake valves. But yeah, everything seems to be moving. I turned it over a couple times. There's no interference or anything. So I'm going to turn it over a few more times, pull the head off, and we'll see what everything looks like. So I pulled the head off real quick, just lifted it off. Studs are nice. And if we look at this putty, we can see there are no valve marks at all. So that's good. That means our valves are not hitting our pistons. So time to, basically the dry run's done. I got the valve clearance done. I got the piston to head clearance done. I got the oil squirter clearance done. I got the rod to block clearance done. So basically now it's time to pull everything apart and clean the shit out of everything, and we can, you know, begin real assembly. So let's do it. Right. So I basically finished up clearancing everything. So now I got everything cleaned up. I got the head all cleaned up, the cams, cam cover, bagged it all. I got the crank over here all cleaned up, hit it all with brake clean and washed it down with a microfiber. So that's all super clean right now. Right now I'm working on ring end gaps. I decided to go with 0.020 for the top ring and 0.022 for the bottom ring, or the second ring. Mainly because the second ring already came at 0.022. I wanted to run 0.018 and 0.020, but that's okay. I have a Jegs piston ring grinder I bought over here. This thing is awesome. You don't have to file rings or anything, you know, with the file. Keeps everything nice and flat. So I'm working on those. I got the first cylinder done, and I'm gonna keep doing that. All right, so I got the engine really nice and clean. Ton of scrubbing. I hit all the oil channels with some you know, some pipe cleaners and everything. But you can kind of just see very clean. Cylinders as well. So basically first step I'm going to do is get these oil squirters installed. These go down here, down situated in there. I'll pull this plate off to do that, but I'm going to torque those up to 10 foot-pounds, and then after that we can get the main bearings installed, the crank, get the sealant on, and start putting this puppy together. So here we go. Got all 5 oil squirters in. 4, 5. You can see on the RN blocks they're actually integrated into the block, whereas on the older N block, the one I used to run before, there were covers back here and you would slide them in. So yeah, they're all in. I already clearanced them earlier. Should be no issues with those clearing the pistons. Already ran the engine over and everything. So we can start putting the crank in. We're going to get the bearings in. We got to get the anaerobic sealer on. And then pop the crank in, pop the girdle on, and we're ready to rock and roll. So I just got the assembly lube put on the bearings, got the bearings in, got all the studs hand tightened in. So I think we're ready to drop the crank in now, and we can get that bed plate on and start torquing things down. Alright, so we have the crank in, and everything went really well. Spins nice and easily. Assembly lube makes it a little bit tougher to spin, but it spins with no binding, no real force. Like, look, it's just one finger. Spins real nice. Basically, I got all the ring gaps done earlier. I am starting to put them on the pistons, following the instructions, of course. So we have the top compression ring gap over here, the second compression ring gap over here. We have the top oil rail gap right here. We have the oil ring expander gap here. You can kind of see it, and it's butted properly. It's supposed to be butted down, as you can see. Butt it down. We have, let's see, the bottom oil ring right here. And we also have this oil support rail. So the oil ring support rail is required when your compression height is small enough that it kind of bites into, the bottom oil rail portion. So that's all installed correctly. You're supposed to have, let's see, the gap right here in the front, and then there's a little indent right here in the side. So those are all ready. I might put in the pistons tonight. I might put them in tomorrow. I'm not sure yet, but that's the next step. So here we go.